Right, I've given in with my steering. I could have left the wheels the correct way round and had a tie rod that ran right across to the other side here. It would have cleared these chassis rails by about, I don't know, yeah, around 3 inches. And I know from if I put all my weight on this, you know, the suspension travel is only about 1 inch. But I'm worried scrutineers would go, oh well, you know, if you go over a bump, the tie rod might come and hit the chassis. I could put a little U here and plate it in. But on balance, just to avoid all that kind of aggravation and hassle, I've given in basically. And I've done what they used to do on most, not all, of the belly tankers, and that's reverse the wheels. So now these arms come out forwards, which is the opposite of what should happen. I'll then have a tie rod that will run right across straight to there, and then I need a way of turning one of the wheels and the other one will follow it. Meanwhile, if anybody's building a single-seater car or off-road vehicle or something, and they want a neat Porsche steering rack with a multi-point adjustable steering column attached to it, compatible with Ford, well, in fact compatible with most commercially available tie rods, which tend to have the M14 thread on this end, since I made those adapters which are under here. So you know, you should be able to get it to work on most things that you might want to build. Just get in touch with me, as I may still have it. Since I've reversed the wheels, you might say, well, what about the brakes? Do they still work? Well, they probably do, but the point is I'm not going to use them anyway. This machine is going to have rear brakes only. Yeah, I may take the backing plates off. I may have aluminium discs here, in fact, which would be more period correct actually. Something's come in the mail, and I think it's a Ford Anglia steering box, so let's have a look at that. Right, well, the first thing about this is, yes, it turns, okay, and that moves. And the second thing is there's no play at all, because of course the worry when you buy a steering box like this, this kind of unknown is it completely knackered and worn out, and there's like massive amount of steering wheel movement before it actually engages and moves. I mean, a little tiny bit is probably alright, but actually there's nothing there at all. Because it's from a Ford Anglia, which is a small British car, I assume this would be smaller than the Chevy Vega type boxes. But actually, well, to me it looks about the same size. It might even be bigger. It seems a little bit over-engineered for the job still. That's good, that's all good. So I'm just going to put it in the car roughly and see whether I've got to shorten this or anything, or put a universal joint in or something. I'm just going to have to think about it. And the other thing is, when you turn, yeah, it's going to, let's have a look at, yeah, there's a tiny bit of play actually. Yeah, the play at the wheel, if that was my wheel, the play at the wheel, I could just feel it. It's about 1 centimetre, or maybe, I don't know, maybe slightly less. I can just feel it, but you know, that's pretty good, to be honest. Right, I had to take the Pitman arm off because I'm going to have to find a longer one. But in terms of where this might go, hang on, if I put that through there, if this goes, hang on, it's hard to do with one hand. If this goes tight up here, Pitman arm comes out here and across to a steering arm mounted to the top of the level with the top of the kingpin, then that would work. The only thing is my steering column will be okay, but I've got a feeling it'll be a little bit too long and I'll need to shorten it. So these are just really cheap digital calipers, about $15. They'll be really valuable for this sort of thing. So I've got to work out how many teeth there are on the splines and what the diameter of the splines is. So it's 19.67 millimeters there. I'll just check it's same at the bottom. No, it isn't. It's 20.5, and in the middle it's 20.1. So I will write all of those down, and then we'll do a bit more internet searching. So we've got top, middle, bottom. I'll just re-zero it. There we are. Right. So at the top, what did I say? 19.7. Okay, middle 20.1. Yeah, this is a Ford Anglia box. I'm not sure if those still are imperial or whether they've gone metric by that point. I'll soon find out. 20.56. Right folks, success. This is on American Ford websites they'd call this a pitman arm. On UK old Ford sites this is referred to as a steering drop arm, even if there's a drop in it or not. Now this is steering rack is from Ford Anglia, and you can see this is rather short. Now this one's longer, and it's from an earlier Ford Popular, although I think it fitted some other earlier cars, like I'm not sure if yeah, maybe the Ford Prefect as well, I'm not sure, but anyway it's longer. The way I worked out that it was longer, because it didn't show it on the website, was I compared the diameter of the hole to the length of the rest of it and got like a ratio of the two, and then I did it for this original one, and this came out bigger than this one. So I figured if the hole was the same, i.e. when they moved to the newer model they didn't change the splines or the hole, because I'm thinking why would they do that, it's just a whole load of extra work. So gambling on the fact that the hole was the same size as this one, then I worked out this must be longer. And this has a travel of a couple of inches each way, so this should have a travel of at least 3 inches each way. And in fact it's exactly what happens. In a linear direction this has a travel of 3 inches each way, which exactly works out with the amount of travel on my steering before the wheels hit these bars. So actually it's about perfect in terms of the dimensions. So now I'm going to mock sort of test fit it, because I'm going to have to shorten the column, and I've also got to make sure this fits inside the tapering nose of the car. Also, some of you are probably thinking, well, why not just cut this and lengthen it and weld it back together? You can do that, but this is a safety critical part, and if you weld it you better make sure you're a really good welder. Going on the early Ford American websites, when it comes to changing the length of pitman arms, the general advice is it can be done, but take it to a certified welder. The main themes being taper the ends where they join, preheat the part, apparently it helps with the weld penetration, and then TIG weld it. I mean, if I was to bodge weld this, I would do all that, and then I would put extra plate above and below and weld all around the edge as well. So the chances of it coming apart, so it would look horrible, it would look ugly, but the chances of it coming apart would actually be very low. But if bearing in mind, if I can find a part that actually fits and is longer in standard form, then I'll use that, even if I have to alter this whole taper slightly. Right, one of my roll cage rings is going to run from here over to here, and that's where the steering will bolt. The steering wheel will be about here, so my arms will be reasonably outstretched, which is what I want, because if I'm in a head-on collision and my head comes forward, poof, I don't want anything in the way. Obviously this roll cage loop will be in the way, but it won't be right up close to my face, it'll be over here. So if my arms are a little bit outstretched to reach the steering wheel, which will probably be like the boss, if you like, will be away from the centre of the wheel again, so the wheel can bend a bit away from me. That would all be good. So just to mock test fit this then, with bearing all that in mind, if I push this through here, a bit hard to do with one hand, but you can see if that goes somewhere like that, then this will be within the nose of the car. The axle beam will, hang on, try and hold this a bit, hang on a minute, try and show you this from the top, like that, shortened. If I mount this about here, you can see the axle beam can travel up and down without hitting the bottom of the steering box. It's got about 6 inches of travel, in fact. And then this arm will run out to an aftermarket arm bolted into these two bolts and sticking out forwards, and it will be roughly horizontal, because these arms, the aftermarket ones, they can come elevated or dropped, but actually I want one that's just straight. So it's worth mocking this up just to work that piece of information out. You can see if I mount this above the spring like that, then I don't think it's going to fit with it. It'll stick up to the top of the bodywork at the nose. I could have mounted it above the spring if I'd used the kind of front axle that has the spring not above the axle but in front of it, because that would give you a lower spring, and then all this structure would be lower. So it's just an example of how you do one thing and then it affects everything else. So not to worry though, this should work with it running through under here, and should still have about 6 inches of suspension travel in the centre, which I think is way more than I'm going to need. As part of my calorie control diet, I'm currently stuffing my face with Welsh cakes, which are a local traditional thing, which once upon a time everybody's mother or grandmother could cook around here, and they're really nice. So I'm back doing detective work again. I'm going to have to find a ball joint or something that will fit this. That's ideally not too expensive. I could have my local engineering company enlarge this hole a little bit, but for a start it's not even in the middle, and obviously we won't want to enlarge it too much because it might weaken things. So just to kick off, let's just see what this taper is halfway down its bore. Where are we? Something like that. 10.9, 11, 10.05 millimeters. What's this? This is the wider end, I think. 11.7. This is a new old stock tie rod end from a Ford Popular, and you can see it does seem to fit pretty well in there. So my drag link will have this at this end, and then on the other end there'll be a Ford type tie rod end, which should normally fit there, but it's actually going to go to a bolt-on steering rod, which will go here, steering arm, sorry, which will go here and be about here, and then come across to about here, which is where this steering box will be. So basically then I'll have all the parts I need to make that. This is some weird left-hand thread, so I'm going to have to work out what that is.